I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM23. This is Lions episode 38. Even though it's only the first week of July, our season is just about done. We've completed our final objective, though there is one stage left to turn it into an overall race victory and potentially a 1-2 finish. We've already won a couple of stages along the way, another podium to go with it. We've fared really well within this race. That is adding up to some points, but of course the bulk of the points aren't going to be added in until the end of the race. And it's a smaller tier race, even though there are some bigger riders at it. So it's not really a ton of points, but we are currently placed well. Not like Jumbo Visma, though, with an insane score right now. They are really, really dominating, even though it's only the first week of July. We are 27th with nearly more points than what we scored last season at this stage. Last season, by the end of the year, by this stage, we're ahead of where we were last year. The insane thing for me, though, is the 1-2-3 from Jumbo Visma with Roglic in 6th. Absolutely dominating, and the addition of Remco Evenepoel has not hurt their positioning at all. The only big surprise is no sign of Sepp Kuss anywhere in the top end of the standings. As for my guys, it's Mason Samuels who's leading the way. He's picked up his 3rd and 4th victory and could be on his way to a 5th if he hangs on to the overall, and that will put him nearly to 1,000 points over the past calendar year. Mulebron has also emerged a bit higher up into 2nd place. It does fall off a bit. We do have some guys from smaller nations scoring points, but I'm not sure if it's enough this year just because of the bulk of those continental races just don't provide the points necessary. Even though we're getting bigger, better results, even though we're scoring more and more points, it's still marginal. But once we hit Continental Pro next year, we could easily see our points double in the coming season, and that could have the impact we're looking for to start seeing that training structure take on some bonuses. And maybe if we win some of those races, we could see some of the popularity bonuses kick in as well. Not necessarily with Eritrea, not necessarily with South Africa, so it would depend on who else. But we are scoring some points. Rwanda in particular has definitely been picking up some points. Morocco is picking up some points. Namibia is picking up some points. So there are some options out there, but it's small quantity overall. Stage 5 of the Österreich Tour. 4 minutes to the breakaway. We lead overall, so we may have to intervene and pull, and I'm not thinking that there's much of a chase right now. Really, there's only one rider, so I might actually have to, it's starting to go out pretty quick here. We're going to get, De Villiers. Go ahead and get to the front and set a 71. Should lock that gap down, and it does. 5.5 minutes and holding now, and even coming back just slightly. Quick stage. That's actually a really, really big gap. That's going to be a little bit difficult to overcome, but we're already seeing the group disintegrate a little bit. But that has more to do with the fact that there is a King of the Mountains top of the climb there, and it's already back together. But in the meantime, the gap, we've brought it down by half a minute already with just one rider giving chase at limited effort. So I think we'll be okay, though they are starting to try to pull it back out a little bit. So he's going to have to put foot down a little bit more, and we're going to have to pick some guys to go with him. I think now's a good time to check in on those 12 riders and see what we're up against, as I have not bothered to do so far. Clark, 5.5 minutes down. Kennedy, 6:26. I better actually do it the other way. There's 12. I'm only going to see 10 of them. 42, 16, 5:37. 5:37. That's the closest. We're at 5:13, so we're actually not in jeopardy. We don't need to pull them back any more than we are. We're already inside 60 kilometers, so we'll send somebody to get water pretty soon. Arengana can do that. Full peloton together, and gap at just that 5 minutes. And like I said, there's no one terribly threatening in the group. That's going to set us up nicely for what is the final climb on this one. Big double climb, but the first climb's already behind us. Other than 2 guys looking a little bit tired. We are good on that one. No profile showing, but you're looking at 14K to the sprint point to the finish, plus 2 or 3 kilometers in front of that. So we're probably looking at a 16, 17 kilometer climb here today. And it's a pretty big one. It is a pretty big one. So we're going to have to be in control throughout, which means this is a challenge for us. This is a real challenge for us. We don't have the team that's necessarily built for this. Inside 10K, we can take over no problem. But can we handle 17? Meanwhile, these two have pulled back a little bit on the front group. That'll help. Inside 20 kilometers, De Villiers. The brothers are definitely tired. They don't have a lot left in the tank as we go to hit the climb. We will use them up. And, oh, here come the other teams. Okay, well, that'll take care of that. I'm going to keep one of them. We'll go Matt. We'll stay on assignment. Josh is going to go protect Arengana. He's going to gel. He's going to gel. Since another team has decided to chase, we no longer have to worry about that part. 15K. I do have to worry about the fact that I'm rolling 76s, though. We're inside 12K. I definitely don't want to be making a move outside of 10, that's for sure. But with 2 guys already down to 5, and fatigue in the legs a bit, I really don't want to be making a move at 10 either. But there is that 10K banner, so we've made it that far. Front group's getting split up. Gap's coming down really fast to some of them as they blow up, but there's some that are going to hang on. Now we're looking at 9K and the fatigue. Fatigue continues to set in. Arengana, he's the first one I'm going to put foot down on. He needs to get forward. He needs to gel. Burhi needs to gel. Jamal needs to gel. And we're at 8K. Arengana needs to get up here to replace Burhi or Jamal soon. Front group splits again. Gap's coming down quick. We probably will see a stage win here, even though they were pretty far out there. Okay, Jamal's fading. Let's use Arengana to protect Molebron for a second, because he's not going to reach Samuels. 6K, and I'm down to 2 riders. Gel. And protect. Okay, this is dangerous territory. I think the 1-2, we can kiss that one goodbye already. You got a team here that is absolutely dominating proceedings. 75, 75, 77, 80. Oh my goodness. Down to 44 in the peloton. All of my dropped riders need to go on auto. Sorry about that, guys. Down to 3 left off the front, but 2 of them are looking pretty strong at 3.5 minutes. There's somehow 41 in the peloton, and I only have 2 of them. And as tired as they are, there is absolutely no interest on my part to push. Gosner's 706 down. It's Clark. Clark's got a better mountain rating than all but 1 member of my team. And Castellano looks pretty good too. LeBron's a 77 today, and he is going to fade. We're down to 3K though. LeBron's already been through his gel. He's hanging on, but looking weak. Samuels, we are ready to respond at 2.5K. He might just make it now. I was really nervous he wasn't, but now I'm thinking he might. Breakaway is going to hang on and win, though. That much is quite clear. Molebron's actually recovering a little bit, and I think at about 1.5, I'm going to put foot down with Molebron. Not to protect... do I want to protect his second place? I do want to protect his second place. 4:15 the gap. Okay, it's time to go. Do I want it? You know what? We're going to do this backwards. I'm going to try to protect Molebron's second place by following Samuels, and Samuels is just going to climb at an 85. That's going to ensure that that gap melts away in the last little bit. 900 meters. Here comes that stage win portion, but at 3.5 minutes, those guys are not a threat. They were 5.5 down. Castellano takes the stage ahead of Clark anyway. LeBron struggling to keep up here in the last 500 meters, but Samuels will attack. 300 meters to go. It's going to leave LeBron behind, but if Samuels can get a little more time gap on everybody else, and nobody else is actually gaining anything, except for it looks like Balmer might, but remember, LeBron has 25-30 seconds. Can he get same time as those guys? I don't know. They came in pretty close together. Samuels, 4th on the stage, beats everybody else. He was good enough on the day. We really lucked out there. Samuels closed the gap on the breakaway enough that he ends up with same time as Gosner. Separation from everybody else, but Molebron gets same time in that group, and then there's more separation behind. So we do retain our 1-2 finish, though we don't get the stage win today. That part I'm not too worried about. It was the overall that I was aiming for. Samuels was first out of the peloton, though, so we really probably could have had another, but as we were totally drained, and we spent most of the day keeping that breakaway in a respectable range and using up riders for that. You can see just how down to it we were right at the end of that. So I'm happier with a 1-2 finish than maybe the slight chance that Samuels wins and LeBron totally blows up and ends up, outside of the top 10 overall. I think that's worth a lot more points than the extra stage win might have been. 4th place game with points anyway, so right. Anyway, Balmer moves up to 3rd. Petrovic up to 4th. Didn't realize that we had an 80 mountain guy in the field. Battistella drops to 5th. Fetter, Grossschartner, Bookman, Neutz for Mark. Hershey, Kwiatkowski, both down at the low end of the top 20. Surprising that they struggled that much, but they did. That also leads to a 1-2 in the points classification, under 25's classification, and somehow we do not claim the team classification. We fall to 5th place. We did really poor on that last stage with our 3rd guy. Our top 2 were there, but our 3rd guy was so far down that we went from being 2 minutes ahead to 10 minutes down in the team classification, all due to one rider, because realistically, well, unless these guys were part of that break. Let's see here. Okay. Well, those 2 anyway got 2 minutes that way. Outside of that, where'd all that time come from? Those guys absolutely obliterated our 3rd rider, apparently. I now have 3 weeks before I head into the contract period. We have our 100% sponsor confidence. That was the final objective. We already had it anyway. We are still standing at a bunch of 4-star guys, the same amount we had since about 2 to 3 months ago. So it has not changed. Hopefully, it does not change over the next 3 weeks. We don't want it to change now. Once we sign these guys in a few weeks, then happily we'll take big advances and progression in their levels. For now, we want them to stay the same so we can afford to re-sign them. Obviously, Samuels is the biggest priority and the biggest concern. Good news, awful news. The good news is that De Villiers, Josh, and Ortiz here have leveled up. They are both 4.5-star talents now. Awful news is it's literally the worst timing possible. The automatic XP through training kicks in once a week. We are 5 days from the signing period. 5 freaking days. This is literally the last week. The last XP assigned before we go through and redo contracts. Literally the last. And both of them have expiring contracts. Our top 3 riders, we have got to be a lock for Continental Pro now. If. And the if got a little bigger now. If we can re-sign our top 3 guys. But now all 3 of them, you would expect some form of higher demand. 4.5 stars in theory with 100% interest should not be bad. De Villiers, Roteasir should still be able to sign for under 10K each, in theory. But what's going to happen on paper? We are a continental team with a low reputation trying to sign guys that are big for our level. So if those two start coming in at 20K each, that 40K plus Samuels at 30 or 40K, I don't think we have 80K to re-sign these guys. I have not done the math yet. I wait to do that until I sign my contract. So I have a few days to go on that, but you gotta be kidding me. Level up in a freaking week, guys. 1 week from now. Go into that contract negotiation at 4 stars, and we're sitting pretty for the next 3 years with those guys for 5K or less. 6K or less. Let's hope it's still 10K or less. Let's hope. On paper it should be, but taking into account the team's reputation, we don't know. At least we have the interest where it needs to be. Here we go, folks, with 2 Dutch offers. No change. We're going to stay with our Zulu Kingdom for another year. South Africa, obviously, they care about. We're starting to do fine in that department. It's actually making that sponsor confidence easier and easier. But if we do promote to Continental Pro, it's going to be tricky. We also have now entered the range for the estimation max, 100K to 130K. If we get another 15 again in the coming season, I would think 119 would fall right into that, because that's in that medium range of right between the maximum numbers. So that's probably one more, and that's going to be it. At some stage, we might have to get a little tricky on how we handle the sponsor to keep the opportunity to grow within reason, obviously, but we might have to do something to help with that process. Right now, we're definitely seeing the consequences of 3-year cycles on contracts, meaning the development period, and our best riders, all of them are in that expiring set. We have just 3 riders on the entire squad that are 4 stars now, currently already signed up for next season. So it's going to be tricky. We have a lot of expiring contracts and a lot of our best riders. Now, the finances, obviously the money is still really small. We're just now going to top 100,000. There are plenty of riders in the peloton of World Tour teams that the one rider alone makes more than that. Now, those are leaders. Those are big-time names. Girmay, I think last I saw he's making like 90,000. It's pennies. Our entire team's budget is pennies. But compared to what we were actually spending, 104,000 does leave us with a fairly good cushion. I'm going to be doing the math on that in just a second, but looking at the existing squad, the salaries are right there, and not a single rider with an existing contract is making more than 3,000. So we're at bare minimum for almost every single one of them. I quickly counted how many riders I have there. It's a dozen. So that's 30K plus the 2 riders at 3,000. So 31,000 is all we're spending right now. That means we have plenty. And with 1.2 million in the bank, we could afford to pay our staff out of the winnings and out of our remaining balance. So we don't have to worry about going right to the limit. We can spend all 104,000, meaning we can spend all 73,000. But what was I saying about Samuels and our 2 guys that just decided to level up at the last possible moment? If they go 20, 20, and 40, that's 80K. We got 73. 73 is a good amount for us. May not be a good amount for the necessities, for the requirements of those. Predictions, though, are more like 20 to 25K for Samuels and 10K or less for each of them. That's 45K. That leaves us close to 30 for our other signings. I am rather hopeful that we're going to be able to get all the business done that we want to get done. Hopeful. I am still a little bit nervous, especially with those 2 leveling up, driving their price up by roughly, maybe 10 to 15K combined. Hopefully that's all it is, or less. So here's the thing. The good news, the really good news, is that we have a near 100% rate of getting the interest driven all the way up. Almost. There's only 2 that we don't. And here's the thing about those 2. Core, I only added his dossier in the last period in the middle of July, and only did so because I had remaining dossier points and I just wanted him there for comparison's sake. I'm not intending on re-signing him at all. So, yay! That one really doesn't matter. He's a 2.5-star guy with a 3-star limit. He's going to be out. We are parting ways with him. It's just all of the dossiers that I was interested in opening left off at exactly 57 points. The other guy that I'm not intending on re-signing is Nambaho. Nambaho was the Namibia 1-1 nation guy that I was trying on, and he has developed a bit, but he's still, other than Baradur rating, has nothing over a 70. The Kabul at 69 is certainly semi-helpful. Not going to be worth it. There's better options out there than him. There are better options on 1-1 nations than him at this stage. So his initial experiment, we'll give it a shot, not happening yet. When we get to Continental Pro, you're going to see some more opportunities and races and maybe a shot for a Namaho type guy. But there's just better choices than him. So I'm going to let him go as well. The other one, the only one then who actually matters that we may sign, is re-signing Bitsimana. And Bitsimana only got to 89%. And that was a July 1, mid-July, and now. He gained 22% each time and nearly got to that 100%. I did him very late, the last dossier period where I didn't already have everyone maxed out interest. There's a couple guys that were at 100% interest that I went ahead and did at the mid-July. Anyway, Bitsimana is the last one on my list. I'll re-sign him if all else succeeds type scenario. He's a 3.5, 4 max. Okay talent, but I got better choices and probably will not re-sign him. But he was, if all else falls into place and we're still looking to sign one more, why not? Being that he didn't get to 100%, probably will end up saying farewell. He'll literally be the last one we get to. So with that, my entire probable list, the list I want, 100% for all of them. That's a huge coup, especially for a continental side. Now the trick is those top 3 in particular, Mollebron, De Villiers, shouldn't see much more than maybe a 3,000 or 4,000 expense on theirs, as they sit at 4. They're definitely on my list. The upper ones, a lot of the ones that we want to sign are existing guys, existing ones. And like I said, the only one out of there that is unlikely to get re-signed is Bitsimana. Mutoni I definitely want because he's high potential. I did the 1-year contract with him intentionally to get him locked down essentially for 4 by getting him re-signed before he goes crazy and maxes out. He's already pushed into 70s in his first season. So he's making some pretty rapid progress. That might not be a bad place to start. Let's go ahead and get him re-signed. And done for the minimum. So now we just turned him into a 4-year deal. I don't know why there's not longer contracts. There are riders in the real world with longer than 3-year contracts. There are differences. I'd love to see the contracts kind of rehashed. I like the negotiation system of it, but I'd like to have just more happening within the contracts. It's so basic with just the interest, salary, length, and role. Early in the process, Mutoni being one of them, I have signed the 4 best prospects already. 3 of them for a minimum, 1 of them for $3,000. So combined 10,500. Really good start on that part, and those were the automatics that I wanted to get. Now though, the big question, because we got that $62,000 to spend, can we get our 3 key guys? Mason Samuels looking on the surface like we're gonna get this done. He's asking for 18.8 up front. We are absolutely going to go for the 3 years on this one. He will not be our best rider eventually, but he's going to be a key rider. And if we can get him in this range, if we can get him signed for something close to this, then this is a no-brainer. I will go with the absolute leader to get the job over the line, even though eventually his role will diminish a little bit. It could make the next contract harder in 3 years, but at that point, he may or may not be somebody we'd even want to continue paying that sort of money. But as he's almost maxed out, we're looking at somebody that we should always be able to get for about 20K or less then. That's a good sign. That's a really good sign. I'm going to try to go straight for the money here. We only get 4 opportunities at this. You know what? No. We're going to back off just a little. Yes. 17.8 for Mason Samuels. Well below. I was hoping to keep it 25 or less, but I didn't think we'd really get there. So, great sign, folks. Great sign. Really good start. That's 5 signed. Orteas here looking for just shy of 10K. Also less patient. I do want to keep him around. He is our future time trialist. Will be useful for us in many ways. So I will invest. We're going to keep these guys. I'm looking for 3-year deals, I think, for the entire group here. I'm not going to drop down, though, with only 3 chances. Yes, that's not quite enough. Let's see how much of an impact this makes. We're almost over the line. 10-2 will do it. And does. Folks, we have got to be headed to Continental Pro now, as Josh DeVilliers has re-signed for 7.3. And just for important rider for his role as well. And he's got a lot of potential still as a climber. A ton of potential remaining as a climber. His level up somehow, again, despite what his training regime is, again, he has somehow allocated his points himself as a puncher. He's a 78 as a puncher now, but still inadequate in other areas. So it's going to be weird to see him start to put points elsewhere and become more well-rounded. But with those 7 signed on, suddenly it's looking bright at the top with a 5-star and 2 4.5 stars. That Continental Pro should be in the bag. Really should be in the bag now. And the overall cost on those guys was $35,000. That's pretty acceptable for 3 leaders at $35K. We still have $27K to spend. I have 7 signed. I had 10 expiring contracts. I can still sign up to 3 more, and at this point, there's a couple more expiring contracts that I'd like to take care of and bring some guys back. LeBron, maybe 27, close to his potential, not great overall, but I mean, come on, the guy's won 8 victories and can continue to contribute to this team long term as long as it's cheap, and he's looking for less than what he was getting before. I don't think I want to do 3 years for him. I think we're going to try 2. He doesn't like the luxury teammate, so we can put him as an important rider. Let's see if he'll sign for that 3.6. That's close. That is close. 4.1. It's less than what he was making, and with the finances we have, that's not bad. Matt DeVilliers has re-signed for just 2.8. You know, he's actually really not very good. He's just the best we have as a sprinter right now. When we eventually rebuild a sprint team, he's going to be part of it. I don't know if he's going to be the lead guy, but at a 74, he's already better than Gibbons was. So, and you could clearly see with the web, he's got a ways to go, potential. Hopefully he'll make some progress, because at the moment he still has just a single career victory. 10 expiring, but we have re-signed 6 of them. We have 3 new faces coming in to replace 2 of those expiring, and that now leaves me with the decision on what to do with the last 1 or 2 contracts. We have 20K left to play with. That doesn't mean we need to be spending it all. It would be lovely to have some finances left over for next year. We're not going to have the number of expiring contracts that we have now, but there's going to be some quality. There is going to be some extra cost with the expiring contracts next year and the increase. If we have 35K to spend next year, 45, 50K to spend next year, that's less than what we have now. But we shouldn't be facing quite the number, the extreme number. This class, this is a good class. Next year's class, it's smaller. So even if it's a good class, hopefully we can afford, if it's going to be similar contracts to what we're doing this year, hopefully we can afford to, retain some guys. But the choices that remain for the existing ones are Bitsimana, who, like I said, that's kind of your last minute one, or Jamal. We also have some other choices out there in the pool, so I'm going to have to do a little analysis to decide who it is I want to sign, the one or two remaining. Well, first decision is in, and this is to start that rebuild of a sprint team. We're going to bring in Bosco, who is a 3-4 potential, and then 4.5 sprinter. Really, looking at that though, that's a 5. And should be a pretty good time trialist as well, so at least provides a little combo, a little more well-rounded, certainly better than De Villiers is on his overall web. To offset contracts a little bit, I went ahead and put Bosco on just a 1-year deal, so we can do the 4-year thing with him. Overall, his top end, though, is not great, so I don't think it's going to be much of a big deal, but this is more about breaking the contracts up a little bit. This is a contract I've put off signing for a couple of years now. He's always like the last one right on the fringes, but Carolus here, you can see he's very well rounded. This is a good all-around guy. Even his sprint is not bad. This is somebody who's going to be capable when he levels up of squeezing out odd wins here and there, especially if he gets +5s. The well-rounded part, right? You add a few points to that cobble rating. You add a few points to that sprint with this type of climbing and this type of punchiness and that type of time trial. This is somebody who can surprise and win the odd GC event, who can win the odd stage here and there, who can win the odd classic because he's got the ability to climb and handle moderate cobbles and can sprint a little bit, that with the right race day condition can squeeze out some victories. So I've been wanting to get him signed for a while, but it's always been, the current ability was really not there. It's gotten a lot better at age 20 now. But that also means he's through a few levels already, and he's still 71 hills, 70 acceleration, that's it. He's puncher more than anything else right now, but I'm going to give this guy a shot. 3 years teammate, minimum contract is all I would have gone for. That's what we get, so I'll take it. Final piece of business. First off, scouting has not resulted in any quality riders that I want to sign right now. If they survive and make it into the database in the pool for years to come, I'll know exactly what their potential is and we'll give them a shot, but none of them are showing the potential that I should sign them right now. Right now we have 5 newbies coming to the team for next season. I have 4 expiring contracts. We're already growing by 1. But for my final piece of business, Bitsimana is a better choice than Jamal, not only in current ability right now, but slightly stronger potential compared to Jamal. So Bitsimana, even though he was the one who didn't have the 100%, we're going to see. I'll sign him for like 3,000, maybe 3,500, maybe for a 1-year deal if he's trying to push it. He doesn't seem to be terribly happy with anything. So we are kind of playing with fire in this one, but I can bump him to an important rider, no big deal. I think I could do 3,000. Let's see if he'll take a 1-year deal, 3,000. He does. Okay, that works. That works. So we managed to keep him around for another year. He can help out the team, and then we can reassess next year whether he's worth hanging on to or not. I think that's a good piece of business for the time being, because we are seeing our roster grow by 2 for the coming season. But we had some leftover money. I've got a couple expiring contracts. We have a slightly smaller set of expiring contracts next year that don't seem to be quite as developed as this group is at this point in time. Therefore, it's looking likely that maybe we're sitting in a scenario where, even though we'll have less money to play with next year, hopefully we can still get everything we want. This year, we did. We got everything we wanted. Looks like we have bumped all the way up to 19th in the index, which is definitely not World Tour, but I think is the type of cushion we need to, by the time everybody does get signed, to still be Continental Pro and hopefully comfortably. Last season we were right at that 4-star mark, and it took a little bit more. Remember, we were absurdly close. Were we the first team out? Was that what it was? We've gained almost half a star. That has got to be enough. Remember, that database is going to get deeper and deeper. So 4 stars flat or 3 stars flat will not do it. 3.5's got to do it, right? It's got to. It's got to be enough. I'm confident. I am confident. I'm not guaranteeing, but I am confident that this was finally enough. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.